Hey, so I got like a lot of ideas for videos and a lot of notes and stuff, but I have been having a really rough week. Um, it's kind of better now, but in my last video I talked about, the pendulum swung in such a lovely direction, and then it kind of swung back in the other direction, but I was okay. I'm on the surfboard, I'm surfing the waves, it's all good. Fall off sometimes and I get right back on, whatever. And then and then the universe is like, "Oh yeah?" And then it just like cranks it up to to 11 and then to 25 and it's just like I don't know, it's like some kind of energy in my, especially in my gut and solar plexus, just like screaming at me, and it's so it's so hard to do anything because you're already kind of maximally overstimulated, and then anything else is just like jolts of electricity. And uh and then what can you do? You gotta do your stuff as well as you can. Um yeah, so I described it to a friend as my gut and solar plexus constantly feel this horrible hollow emptiness, like the only person in the world who loved me punched me in the gut and then walked out of my life forever. It's a crushing, nauseating sense of being infinitely cast out and disconnected, and infinitely unworthy, an infinite hopeless fraud and hypocrite. And at the same time, I can't seem to stop myself from adding second and third arrows. Jesus, this again? You've done unworthiness a million times. Get over yourself. Your childhood wasn't that bad. And now you're judging yourself again. Haven't you learned anything? Uh, and then why am I judging myself for it's just like, um, it's like I know better and I can't do better. And so it's just like, why is this happening? I thought I'd made progress. And then, as most of the time in the background, it's like, yeah, it sucks sometimes. It like genuinely sucks sometimes. Um, and it'll change. It always changes. Um, yeah, I wrote to my friend ultimately, or the fact that these voices still exist points to the reality that I still have work to do when it comes to compassion and self-compassion. And ultimately, that's okay, because what else can it be? Suffering is a pointer. Ultimately, it's grace, and it was. It turned out to be. But right now, I just want to throw a tantrum and say, no, it's too hard. And I guess my job is to have compassion for that, to love even the young, resistant, scared parts of myself, for real, and not just by having a stiff upper lip until the bliss comes back. Um, and I wrote, man, this stuff really flays you alive. And a couple of days ago, I kept thinking, okay, this will pass. Do your best. Finally, after a few days, I said to my husband, like, look, I'm dealing with something. Don't know what it is. Not fun. It's really difficult. It like might be the worst I've ever felt, actually. It's okay. I have enough capacity that, uh, you know, maybe he. I mean, my kids probably noticed that I was a little bit on edge. Because man, there's nothing like kids to put you on edge because they're so unpredictable and they just kind of know all your sensitive spots instinctively. It's nothing purposeful. Um, but yeah, I was just telling him like, look, I might be overstimulated. I might be, I don't know, just just so you know. Um, and then finally, I got tied up in such a tight knot, there was nowhere to go but surrender. There was nowhere to go but like straight in, all the way in, like filleting yourself like a fish, just like opening your deepest crevices and being like, don't know what's gonna happen, but it's not good now. Can't be worse. I mean, it can always be worse, I guess, but I guess there's some hope or idea of trust because all other roads, you know, they don't lead anywhere. Not really. And yeah. Yeah, continuing to pretend I'm some separate entity who can figure anything out on my own. It's just a bit silly at this point. I still do it, but it's a bit silly. So anyway, I think part of what has helped is that I'm not doing cannabis gummies, which they had become a little bit of a crutch when I was feeling raw. It was easy to just kind of like, I mean, it can also be raw on cannabis gummies, and I don't think it's cheating necessarily, but I think raw can be good sometimes, can be advisable, and I think it's been helping that there's not sort of this extra layer of thought like, oh, maybe I'm just done with cannabis, It's like, no, this is it. Um, and I think a practice has helped. I started having compassion for 5 kinds of people every day: someone I'm grateful to, someone I love, someone I feel neutral about, someone who's difficult, and myself. Um, which, yeah, I mean, it's so much easier for me to feel compassion for theoretical people or faraway people or groups of people than for somebody right in front of me, which not the funnest thing to admit, but um, and yeah, I can go into the probable reasons for that, but point is, it's a trend, and that kind of face to face vulnerability or even heart to heart vulnerability when I'm doing a practice, um, it's not easy for me, and you might think it's strange that I say vulnerability is difficult for me as I spill my guts all over YouTube. Uh, but writing a book or making a video is not really directed at anyone. And if there's a response, it's delayed, and everyone knows it's not personal, and everyone can just walk away anytime, right? Face to face vulnerability with real people is something else entirely. And it feels like it rips holes in my energy, in a painful way, but a good way. I think it's what I need. Um, and I think, in addition to whatever relational work you might do in your own life, circling is also really, really good for that. So, but yeah, after all that happened, I got my Angelo video for the day, and sure enough, it's on this exact topic, saying like, yes, this is how it goes at this point in the process. You don't have a self structure, but you have something still trying to self. And he said it's really, really uncomfortable, and I'm like, yeah, no shit. But it was kind of good to know because I don't really believe in regression exactly. I think it can look like a regression, but you're actually still kind of spiraling upward. But man, if anything felt like a regression, this did. It just felt like, Jesus, man, I am nowhere. I am flat on the ground. Um, but Yeah, I feel like it actually really, I feel like it kind of ripped a hole in my energy too. I feel like it was actually a really productive thing to happen because you know it like it sends all these fingers deep into the crevices so that you can't. I mean, it's there's still stuff hidden in the crevices until there's not, and getting into the deepest crevices can be the most painful. But by the time you get to it, you have the capacity. Hopefully, even if you know it's still not easy. It definitely requires courage, and a part of me is like, I'm not really into the courage thing. I think I'll just, um, sit back and let it happen to some extent, and then because it's like something in you never wants the hard stuff to be now, like the really hard stuff. But um, yeah, I happened to watch another of Angelo's videos today that talked about how there is no time. I mean, now is now is now is now. It's like there's just stuff moving through this now. So that sort of the paradox of later when I'm not suffering, or later when the bliss comes back, or later when, exists at the same time of knowing that there's no later. It's all just, there's nothing to do but sink into exactly here, now, at a given time, to the extent that you can. And somehow an illusion of progress happens, but you really haven't moved at all. I don't know. It's very confusing and paradoxical, but it's very beautiful and fascinating. And some deep kernel of unworthiness has kind of been excavated. It feels like it's not all gotten to. I think the pendulum has some more swings to do, more apparent swings. Um, but yeah, that's where I'm at the moment.